Ever wondered how blockchain technology is changing the world or what Web3 really is? If you're feeling lost or just curious, I'm here to make it all clear. Hi, I'm Mart. I'm a developer in the Ryzen team and I'm here to break down these complex topics into small and understandable pieces and guide you on your Web3 journey. So, what's a blockchain and how did it emerge? So, blockchains didn't appear out of thin air. It was born out of a need to solve a complex problem. And that problem was, how do we send a message or transfer a value peer to peer without needing a central entity? By central entity, we mean and we refer to entities such as banks, which have full control over their system and are not transparent in the process. Many brilliant individuals of our era tried to overcome this problem, and they have gone a long way and did a significant progress. However, they weren't successful at fully solving this problem, but their efforts created and laid the groundwork for Satoshi Nakamoto to come and solve this problem and create Bitcoin. In a now famous email, Nakamoto stated, "I've been working on a new electronic cash system that's fully peer-to-peer with no trusted third party." Introducing the Bitcoin white paper. The white paper outlined how blockchain could be used to create a decentralized, secure, and transparent ledger system. So, back to blockchain. Blockchain is a type of distributed ledger system, which is essentially a database that is shared across multiple people and multiple participants in a network. The participants in the network are called nodes, and nodes can be set up by anyone. Anyone that's provided they have enough supply and resources to provide the necessary equipment. Also, these nodes can be set up anywhere in the world, forming a decentralized entity, which is the answer we are giving to the problem we mentioned at the beginning of this video. And when you try to interact with a blockchain, you have to broadcast your message or transaction to a channel. And that channel is visible by anyone. And also they're always listened by these nodes. And these nodes are trying to pick your messages, pick your transactions from that channel and put it to the blockchain. Each transaction and piece of information sent to these nodes are picked up by them and processed. There are many blocks, and this blocks has to be in chronological order. And when we link these blocks, we get the idea of the chain of blocks. Well, okay, that makes sense. So we have nodes, but how can we trust these nodes not to steal our funds or change or manipulate our data? So each blockchain has a consensus protocol. These protocols are a set of rules that every participant, which is the nodes, has to follow to validate transactions and add new blocks to the blockchain. For example, proof of work used by Bitcoin requires participants called miners to solve complex mathematical puzzles to add a new block. A malicious behavior will require redoing all the computational power for that block and all the subsequent blocks. This means attacker must control at least 51% of all the hash rates in a network, making it nearly impossible. On top of that, the complexity of these puzzles are adjusted automatically by the Bitcoin code every 2 weeks. And this depends on how long the latest blocks have taken in order to match the hardware performance that is improving every day. There is also proof of stake. And in proof of stake, the validators, which are actually the nodes, are locking up some amount of native cryptocurrency as a stake. And if they attempt out to act dishonestly, they risk losing their stake. This brings us to what makes blockchain unique. Once a block is added, it cannot be altered without changing all the subsequent blocks, ensuring security and transparency. However, there have been events in the blockchain history that we had to change the state of some of the blockchains. In 2016, the Ethereum blockchain faced a major issue. The issue was related to vulnerable code in a smart contract and leading to the theft of almost $15 million worth of Ether. The majority of the community at the time decided to fork the chain to recover the stolen funds, which meant the nodes had to disregard all the blocks that happened after the theft, including the one that theft happened. But not all the nodes agreed to do that. As a result, two new blockchains emerged. One is the Ethereum that we know, which is currently the second biggest blockchain by market cap, and the other one is the Ethereum Classic, which is the original one. And the Ethereum that we use currently and most people use is the forked one. So what's a fork? A fork is when a blockchain is divided into two new blockchains. And these blockchains have a shared history until some block height. And after that block, they're completely separate chains and they have their own history. Now that you have an idea of what a blockchain is, now let's compare blockchain and Web3. Blockchain is a technology, whereas Web3 is an ecosystem that uses blockchain and other decentralized technologies such as decentralized storage, solutions like RBU, IPFS and such to create a new generation of internet. Let's use an analogy here. So if we think Web3 as a car, the blockchain will be its engine and the front end will be the design of your car. And if you use it, the backend will be some other components that help your car go. But a backend is not always necessary in Web3. There are projects that use only a front end and a blockchain connection. To sum up, understanding blockchain as the foundation and how Web3 builds on it can make the idea of decentralization clearer. We learned that blockchain is a secure, transparent, and shared ledger system that allows us to create peer-to-peer transactions without needing a central authority thanks to the consensus protocols like proof of stake and proof of work. We talked about how transparent and secure blockchains are, but also how can they adapt to some situations which happened in the Ethereum case. Web3 takes blockchain even further by using it with other decentralized technologies to create a new kind of internet, changing how applications are developed and how the data is managed. But is Web3 really worth learning? I definitely believe it is. And there's a video where we explore how beneficial it could be for you to learn Web3. You should check it out. See you next time.